Are you ready?
I guess so.
What is a glizzy gobbler?
Well, this is the first time I've ever been hearing about that. I don't know if I should know or I'm lucky that I don't know what it is, but to me, it kind of sounds like a child predator, to be honest with you. It doesn't give me good vibes. It kind of freaks me out a little bit. So that's just my thoughts.
So you wouldn't consider yourself a glizzy gladiator?
To me, now that sounds like you're slaying the pedophiles and like exposing them or whatever. I don't know.
You've really never heard of this?
Unfortunately or fortunately not, I honestly don't know.
It means hot dog.
That's a hot dog?
Yeah. You like hot dogs?
I'm okay, I guess. But I'm not a freaking glizzy gobbler. That's such a weird way to put it.
Kids these days.
Man, who even asked that? Welcome back to another podcast produced by Jacob Morgan, hosted by me for this episode of Ian Says. Well, I was looking at the color of the wall, how it's blue. And for, there's like blue can also mean cold and red means hot. But I think psychologically, blue would mean like calm, I think, maybe. I don't remember the specific. Red would mean like angry or something. Yeah. I was just looking at that and I was thinking, if you maybe colored your room that you're in, that you studied with similar colors, maybe you would get more work done, be more productive, whatever the case is. Yeah. I was also thinking about heating and cooling. What if you could turn the heat that you get from your furnace into like a kind of like a wind turbine, and it just produces energy, more energy efficient? I mean, I'm sure it's not a lot, but every little bit helps. I'm also taking 5 classes. Those are pretty stressful. I'm trying to think. Oh, actually, I did. I've heard that when you're more tired, you are more likely to be creative because you have less like mental barriers. So you're more like free flowing, just kind of whatever pops in, you just kind of think of. I keep hitting the mic because I'm trying to express what I say with my hands. Actually, that's a good way to tell a liar is they don't really use hand motions because they don't even believe what they're saying because they know it's a lie, so they could be less passionate about it. They also don't make a lot of eye contact, or they make too much eye contact. They just stare at you. Yeah, they're kind of like that. They don't want to look you in the eyes. They kind of look around you. A liar could also sweat a little bit. You could see their forehead get shiny or something, kind of like a reflection. It's kind of funny. I never used to think about that stuff until you realize how much you get lied to in everyday life. Your coworkers lie to you. Your boss lies to you about stuff. Actually, I got a call today from my work, and apparently he told me he had a note that said I had open availability, which was not true because I never said that. I said I was flexible with the work schedule, but I definitely do not have open availability. And actually, that made me realize that a lot of employers actually push you to have open availability because they don't really care about your life or what's going on because they have their own job to do. It may sound rude or mean, but that's just reality. They want to fill in the cracks of the schedule, make sure the work gets done, and go home, kind of like everyone else. Now, what that means for the average person, it means that someone who's more passive actually can get pushed around easier, and they can become more stressed out, and it's not good for mental health. So if your employer is pushing you around and kind of shoving you in schedules you don't really work well with and whatnot, you need to say something because it's not good for your mental health, it's not good for your stress, and it's only going to cause problems in the future in the current time right now. So it's not recommended. Also, some people don't consider how stressful it is to be a boss because if they're a boss, there's likely a boss above them unless they're the CEO, which usually is not the case. So sometimes you need to put into perspective, take yourself out of your situation and see it from their eyes because maybe they're being thrown under the bus for something And now they're just trying to lighten their own workload by using you. So maybe you could help them out because they might be under stress themselves. So it's just perspective is a wild thing, you know? Sometimes people need to step out of their own shoes, look around them. That's very important. I'd say it's part of being intelligent. There's a lot of things that can go into being intelligent. It's not just always book smart. You know, there's a lot of people kind of think that there's two intelligence level, like street smarts and book smarts, which that's pretty generic, to be honest with you, because there's a lot more than that can go into intelligence. There's short-term memory, long-term memory, like how does this person act in this situation? It's a stressful situation, a not very stressful situation. So actually the human mind is a crazy thing, and I think oversimplification is honestly it's probably not the best thing. I mean, it's the most relatable for a lot of people, but when it comes down to it, judging someone's intelligence, I don't know if it could be the actual best way to determine that. I think a very good way would be to get to know them more, see what they're good at, their strengths, their weaknesses, and judge them based off that. And now, that can be difficult for a lot of people because when someone meets someone, their first, how they, like, I don't remember the exact time it takes to form like a first impression, but I know that it's very quick. It's like, boom, quick. And that's sometimes how they judge interviews, which isn't always the case because when you go to a job interview, you can be really stressed out and stuff. And if they see you as this guy who's disorientated, his shirt's a little wrinkled, his tie's not straight, he's stuttering his speech, he can be very stressed out. And that may not be him, but he's under a lot of pressure. And some people don't perform under pressure pretty well. Now, with that being said, if it's a job that actually has a lot of pressure on you, maybe that they're not the best for that job. But depends on the job, depends on the employer, depends on the person. Actually, that makes me realize how difficult it would be to make rules for general and broad situations because everything always seems to have an exception in a situation. So I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but if you are like a normal human being, you realize that not every single rule is perfect for every single occasion. And sometimes stuff needs to be bent around to form over that specific situation to work what's best for everyone and what's maybe safe or what's accepted. So I was thinking about goal setting recently in life. So a lot of people, they set these goals that are, I wouldn't say they're unrealistic, but they're huge goals for where they are at life right now. So for example, like maybe someone who's working a retail job, they want to buy a GTR. Now that is an extremely expensive car, and that is probably unlikely if you're working at a retail job, getting paid like $12.20 an hour. So a more acceptable goal would be to be maybe get a new job. Start small, look for jobs, look for pay increases, maybe promotions, whatever the case is, but set your goals smaller so you are more likely to achieve those smaller goals and slowly get onto the path of bigger goals. Because life is not about big steps, it's about the little steps that you take to get you where you want to be and where you should be and need to be. And recently I was thinking also about New Year's resolutions. So a lot of people, they're like, oh, I want to lose 50 pounds by the end of the year, which that is a big goal for some people, which is fine. That's not a bad goal, but the process they get or proceed to take to achieve that goal is not realistic. Like I'm going to work out 5 times a week. That's probably not very healthy, and that's probably not going to happen. It might happen for a couple of months, but it's probably not going to follow through. That's why a lot of people start going to the gym in like January, February, and then all of a sudden it just drops off because people, they can't stick with it. And they need to set smaller goals for themselves. So an example of that would be I'm going to work out maybe twice a week for an hour and a half, 30 minutes, small goals. I also watched a YouTube video recently about describing how you could even scrap the whole New Year's resolution idea and just do a specific theme. So for example, the year of fitness, where you want to maybe make smaller decisions to help you be more healthy. So maybe that's cutting out soda. getting sparkling water, LaCroix, or just drinking water, or maybe less caffeine, less coffee. That's small steps to achieve larger accomplishments. So another example of that could actually be the year of education. So maybe instead of watching one more episode of Netflix or whatever show people watch, like Stranger Things or something, you read a chapter of a book. It's a small mental push, but once you start doing it, it can become a habit, actually. So good habits are actually kind of hard to form because your brain wants to do what's most comfortable, and the most comfortable thing is usually the easiest thing, and then the thing that's probably not going to help you very much in life. So people need to step outside of their comfort zone and try new things, because that's the only way for a mind to develop to its max potential. So that's just some other side thoughts that I was thinking of recently. I was also thinking of the solar system, because recently I watched it was Interstellar this weekend. It was a really good movie, very entertaining. The ending blew my mind. I was just constantly thinking about it. I think it's I don't know how old the movie is, but it's been out for a while and I just haven't seen it. But it tackles some big concepts like black holes and theory of relativity and time, not necessarily time travel, but basically from the ending, I understood, spoiler alert, that the main character can affect gravity or time through gravity. So basically, he could use time to move gravity. It's kind of a hard concept to understand if you haven't seen the movie, but I would highly recommend watching it. It's very good, very entertaining. It gets you on the edge of your seat. It's 10 out of 10 would recommend. I was also thinking about smartwatches recently. So that seems like a big thing for a lot of people. Some people actually use it for fitness, tracking steps, whatever the case is. But this happened to someone I knew. They got themselves a smartwatch and they started tracking their steps, which, there's nothing inherently bad or wrong about that. But what they would do is they would track their normal steps in everyday life and then count that as exercise, which that's not exercise. That's you doing the same thing you do every day. If you wanted to do exercise, maybe you would double the amount of steps you take. There's just one way of thinking about it. Just because now you record you did 12,000 steps today, that doesn't mean you exercised. And you still need to go to the gym or maybe go on a longer walk or whatever it is. But yeah, I was also another thing with smartwatches is how they connect to our phones. So a lot of people, I don't know how many people specifically, but people who are like heavily deep into some conspiracy theories, such as the government implanting chips in you to track you. Honestly, I don't really see that happening because people already willingly carry their phones around. So why would they put something in you that you don't want in there? And that's more likely to cause people to revolt or not want to do that. So why not just use your phone, have kind of a back door into big companies like Apple, Samsung, and whatnot not that Samsung and Apple and Google don't already track your data, but if the government wanted to, they could anyway. So this thought with they're going to use like coronavirus vaccines as way to implement chips in people doesn't really have a lot of, it just doesn't line up. It doesn't make sense if you really want to think about it. But that's just my thoughts. And it's a free country. So if people want to believe that stuff, they can believe it. No hate towards them, I guess you could say, but it's just kind of absurd to think. But yeah, it's pretty interesting actually. And you know what else is very interesting is wine. So wine, for some reason, it can be associated with fine dining, and I don't really understand that. I guess I don't know if our society has pushed that way towards higher class and fine dining with wine, but I guess that could go with a lot of things. I forget how much memory your brain can hold, but I know it's a lot. So I wonder if your brain stores any of the extra thoughts that we have that we don't have in our instant memory. Some of these YouTubers, nothing like negative towards them, but I was watching some tech reviewing companies, or not companies, just individual YouTubers, and this guy bought a $1,500 chair, and I was about midway into the video, and then I was like, "Oh, this looks like a nice chair. I'd consider buying it." And at the time, I didn't know it was $1,500, so I go down to his Amazon link, I click on it, and it's $1,500. This guy throws money out, and he was kind of just. I thought it was going to be like $200-300 chair, and it's some astronomical price. And these he just kind of whips the money out of nowhere like it's pocket change to him. It's kind of crazy. That's a random thought I had. Okay, before I forget, please, if you're looking at buying a TV, do not buy a cheap one. You're going to be staring at it for hours, I'm sure. So why not get some eye candy and like get a good TV? It doesn't have to 4K is preferred, but buy a good TV.